for this module 4, sorry, we'll be treating the nature of news. So that means our topic for module 4 is the nature of news. So we'll be looking at news, meaning, and the likes, and what makes a news, that is the news determinants, and all. For the module, the contents of the module, we have the concept of news. We'll be looking at the meaning of news itself. And 2, we have news determinants. So under that, we'll be looking at timelines, the proximity, prominence, and the impact or consequence, conflict, human interest, the types of news, and the likes. So in short, this module centers on news and the concepts of news and the nature of news itself. So now we have the introduction to be that news is fundamentally a human construct designed to inform societies about events deemed significant, timely, and relevant. It is important to know that news is human construct. That's very significant, and it is designed to inform the society about what is deemed significant and timely, and also relevant to the society. It is just like a setup or a construct of human that is meant to update and inform the citizens or the society about what's happening. So at its core, it serves as curated selection of facts, occurrences, and developments that affect individuals, community, or the world at large. So it's important to note that news is not limited to a particular group, maybe individual or society. News as a whole is important to the community, to individuals, and even the world at large, to keep the world updated about a certain issue or a certain story. And unlike raw information or historical records, news is characterized by immediacy. It prioritizes what is new, what has just happened, or is unfolding. So in news, as we've said earlier in our previous module, we made mention that news is what is regarded as what is new. Anything that is new is news. So any new occurrence, any new happenings is in news. So unlike all information or historical records that can be traced, news is mainly featured by its immediacy and what it prioritizes as new, what has just happened or is unfolding, about to happen, or is just happening currently. News deal with present rather than the history or past, what has happened initially. So this temporal urgency distinguishes news from other forms of knowledge, such as academic research, literature, and the likes, entertainment, and all, which may explore timeless truths or fictional narrative. News answers the basic questions of who, what, when, where, and why, and how. So those are the WH questions that news answer. Who is the news addressing? What is the news talking about? When does the news happen? Where does the news happen? And why is the news happening? And even how the story happened or the information happened or gets to the people. So, but always within the constraint of recency and public interest. So now let's look at the concept of news. We'll be looking at the meaning of news. News refers to information that is new, timely, and relevant to the public, often presented in various formats, which could come as print, as broadcast, or digital media. News typically covers events, issues, and stories that have not been reported before, providing readers or viewers with up-to-date insights into what is happening locally and globally. So it is newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent events. That is, news they are newly received or noteworthy information or stories, especially about recent. When we are talking about news, we can't deprive news from recency. It is urgent, something that is happening recently. Anything that has happened in the past or that has happened few hours or few days ago is no longer a news. It is as dead as a dog. So the word news can mean different things to different people depending on their political, social, economic, cultural, or geographical perspective. But the main idea, the main concept that we shouldn't forget about news is that news deals with recency. Any information and story that is just happening is what we refer to as news. So we have another subtopic. We have news determinants. We'll be looking at the elements or those things that determines a news. So in journalism, the term determinants of news as most commonly known as news value or newsworthiness criteria. Might come as new values or newsworthiness criteria, but for the concept of this course, we'll be using the word new determinant. It refers to the set of unspoken but widely shared principle that journalists, editors, and media organizations use to decide which events out of the millions that happen every day are selected, highlighted, and presented as news. It is not just everything that happens that is news. We have to look at some determinants, some things that needs to be considered before we can call an information in news. So these criteria act as a filter. Only stories that score highly on several of these factors are likely to appear on the front page, lead the evening bulletin, or trend on social media. Understanding these determinants helps explain not only why certain stories dominate the headlines while others are ignored, but also why the news often feel dramatic, negative, and focus on conflict or celebrity. So in any case, majority of media practitioners have come to embrace the following criteria or determinants of news. So we are talking about news determinants. We have them to be these are timelines, so which we'll be addressing in the next subtopic: proximity, prominence, consequence, or impact. We have conflict, human interest, and novelty or unusualness. These are the determinants or criteria for news. The timelines, the proximity, and the likes, the impact, conflict, human interest, and novelty. Those are the determinants. So let's pick it one after the other. We have timelines as the first determinant. A well-known saying in journalism is that nothing is as dead as yesterday's news. So far, a news has become has gotten more than 24 hours, then it is dead already. It is no longer a news because it is not new again. This reflects the fast-moving nature of the news cycle, especially in print, where a story loses relevance once the next edition arrives. Even broadcast media, which may replay the previous day's events in early morning shows, often present them with fresh angles. The key point is that timelines give news its value. Readers and viewers expect the latest information, so journalists must prioritize immediacy and currency in their reporting. When we are talking about news, that we should consider, the first thing to consider is the immediacy, the recency, and currency. The currency in their reporting. Is it just happening? If it is something that has happened like a couple of hours or 4 days ago, then it is no longer a news, but it is dead as yesterday's news. So we have proximity. These are events that happen close to the audience geographically, culturally, or emotionally, are far more likely to be covered. A bus accident that kills 10 people in one's own city will receive blanket coverage, while a similar accident killing 100 of people in distant country may be reduced to a brief mention or ignored entirely. So that's just where we'll be looking at the proximity of where the news happen. We also determine the kind of news that will be shared to the people. So it's just as we have made this example has made that a bus that kills a bus accident that kills 10 people within a city will be given much more attention. A bus that in Nigeria will be given much more attention to a bus that kills hundreds of people in Australia. In Nigeria, when talking about Nigerian news in Nigeria will pick that of 10 buses in Nigeria more than that of Australia. So that's to explain what the determinants or the criteria of the proximity criteria entails. Also extends beyond geography. Stories about telling who share the audience's nationality, language, religion, and the like, and therefore more relevant. It has to do with, in short, this criteria has to do with the nearness of the news. Also determinants. We have prominence as another criteria or determinant. Stories involving famous, powerful, or elite individuals and institutions are inherently more newsworthy. Anything that happened around famous and powerful elites or elite individuals are inherently more newsworthy. A tweet from a global celebrity, a scandal involving a president, or a corporate announcement from Apple or Tesla will almost always make headlines, even if the substance is trivial. Compared to ordinary people, by contrast, usually enter the news only when they are caught up in extraordinary events. This is to tell us that when we are looking at news, attention is paid more to the powerful people, to the celebrity, and all, because anything that they do is a news. Any incident that happens to them is news. So compared to ordinary person, ordinary person only can only get to the front page of when they engage or they are caught up in extraordinary events. So now prominence gives story instant recognition and guarantees public interest. So impact or consequence now. Consequence as a determinant of news events means that the interest of the public is uppermost in weighing the implications or effects of an event reported. The greater the number of people affected, the more serious the consequences, the higher the news value. So natural disaster, economic policies, terrorist attack on pandemic score highly because they alter many lives at once. So this we can also look at the impacts or consequence of an incident, also determine the kind of attention that people will pay to it. You cannot compare a natural disaster or economic or terrorist attack in a particular given country not to we definitely enter the headline of the day when things like this should happen. So we have conflict as another determinant. Human beings are drawn to struggle, confrontation, and drama. Wars, protests, political arguments, legal battles, sporting rivalries, and even personal feuds provide clear opposing sides and high emotional stakes. Conflict creates tension and narrative momentum, which keeps audiences engaged. We should know that when there is conflict between two different individuals, famous or powerful individuals, or two different countries, two different states, it is a scenario for news. It is a thing for news. So now peace agreements, routine cooperation, or slow incremental progress, by contrast, rarely make exciting copy. Hence, the old journalism saying, if it bleeds, then it leads. When there is war, when there is chaos, then it should lead. Those are headline stories. When there is misunderstanding, when there is pandemonium, when there is all those kind of conflict, struggle, be it politically, legally, battles, and the like, protests and all, those are headlines, those are news that needs to be those kind. If we have situation like that, when there is that kind of situation, those are news that it must be news. Sorry. So those are we'll be looking at the conflict as a determinant of news. So now we have human interest. That is under that you have story that arouse emotion, sympathy, warmth, anger, amusement, or shock have strong appeal even when they lack large-scale impact or prominent figures. The rescue of a child who fell down, let's take for instance, the rescue of a child who fell down a well, an act of extraordinary kindness by a stranger, a 100-year-old skydiver, or a homeless man returning a lost wallet, all fall into this category. So these are the kind of story that fall into the category of human interest. That is to show emotion, sympathy, warmth, anger, amusement, and kindness and the likes. So human interest stories provide emotional relief and heavier news and are highly shareable in the social media area. So we have novelty or unusual news. The rare, the unexpected, and the deviant are inherently newsworthy. As the classic, though apocryphal, newspaper maxim goes, when a dog bites a man, that is not news. That is, we should look at this illustration. When a dog bites a man, is not a news, but when a man bites a dog, that is news. This is just to illustrate the fact that when a dog bites a man, that is like it is expected, it is usual, something that we expect from a dog. A dog is not new that a dog is biting a man. It's not today that we'll be hearing that. Even if we have not experienced it, at least we would have heard of it. So that is no longer a news. But when a man bites a dog, then that is news, because what would happen to a man to bite a dog, what would have led the man to bite a dog, that is news and need urgency. So now first last superlatives: biggest, smallest, oldest, fastest, and bizarre occurrences all attract attention precisely because they deviate from the everyday norm. So anything that is unusual, that has deviated from the normal routine or normal expectation in daily activities of human being, attracts is a news that needs to be heard by the people. So we have the types of news to be. The difficulty that is normally associated with the distinction between types of news is not strange to many. So, and with some of these notable types of news that we have the hard news, soft news, investigative news, follow-up news, and the likes. So for this course, we have hard news. This refers to factual, timely reporting of significant events that have affect the public, such as politics, crime, disasters, or major economic shifts. So on the other hand, we have soft news. This is a type of news or feature style stories that focus on human interest, lifestyle, entertainment, arts, and the like. So these are the kind of news that come from the entertainment part, from human nature, human interest. Those are the soft news. While the hard news are those that is heated, that is coming from the politics, the crime, disaster, and the likes angle. So we have investigative news, in-depth reporting that uncovers hidden information, corruption, or systemic issues through extensive research, data analysis, and interviews. These are the kind of news that comes after conducting series of interviews, series of research, and investigation. Then we have follow-up news. These are the types of news that updates or developments on previously reported stories, providing new information, context, or outcome, probably about a scenario or a story that has happened. It is just like a follow-up. Okay, concerning the story of so person that was updated earlier, this is the new update. That's another type of news. So in conclusion, in this module, we have led in understanding the concept of news as a carefully curated human construct that prioritizes timelines, relevance, and public interest over the mere recording of events. Far from being a neutral mirror of reality, news emerges through selective processes shaped by editorial gatekeepers, cultural values, and increasingly digital algorithms, making it both a vital tool for democratic discourse and a contexted reflection of societal priorities. This module explores how news differs from raw information. We have been able to explore how news is different from raw information or historical documentation by its emphasis on immediacy and its